Okay, in this video we're going to talk about the circle, circumference, and area formulas. And basically what this is stating or showing is that there is a consistent relationship between the length of the radius and, in the case of circumference, the distance around the circle, the outside of the circle, or if you want to call it the perimeter of the circle, you can call it that. So the distance around this is the circumference, and again there's a relationship between this distance and this distance, and this formula describes that relationship. If you take the radius, no matter what it is, and you multiply it times 2 and then times this other number that we have come to called pi now, that will give you the distance of the circumference. Somebody has already figured out that what pi, most of you guys know it's 3.14, but it doesn't stop there. It goes on. It's a another irrational number that it does not stop and it does not repeat as a decimal form. It also cannot be written as a fraction. You may have seen the approximation of 22/7, and that is close to 2 pi, but not 100% exact. And then in the area formula, the area, there was also somebody has noticed that there's a relationship between the distance of r, or the radius, and the space, the square space that it takes up. Just a point of note, this is a linear distance, so the units would be to the first power, or if you want to say, like for example, if the radius was centimeters, then the perimeter would be in centimeters, and in the area, if the radius was in centimeters, the area, all the space that takes up here, would be in centimeters squared. Okay, and so the area for the formula to find the area of a circle is take the radius squared and then times pi. So let's do a few examples of this. Okay, here we have a circle, very poorly drawn I might add, that has the radius of 7. And so we have the area formula is pi times the radius squared, and the circumference formula is 2 times pi times the radius. So if we want to find the area, well, all we need to do is simply plug in pi times, in this case the radius is 7 squared. Now it's important that you're only squaring the radius and not, you would not want to put pi times 7 first and then square. That would give you an incorrect answer. You'd want to square, take 7 squared first, that gives you 49, and then multiply that times pi, or 3.14. That will give you the area. Now, sometimes you'll see the answer just written in pi form, in 49 times pi, and that there's a time and a place for that, and that's appropriate. And sometimes it would be more useful to try to find a rounded decimal. So if you were to actually multiply 49 times 3.14, let's just stop there, you would get 153.94 something, rounded to 0.94. Okay, and then so for the circumference, again you do 2 times pi, and then times, in this case, 7. So we'll do 7 times 2 first. That's 14. That's going to be 14 times pi. And again, if you needed the decimal for that, you could multiply 14 times 3.14, and you'll get approximately 43.98 something. Okay? Let's do a few more. Okay, in this case, you are given the area, and then it's asking you for the radius. Find the radius. What is the radius? So if you're given the area, Again, we know the area formula is pi times the radius squared. So this case we have the area at 78.5, and that equals pi times the radius squared. Well, let's divide both sides by 3.14, and I'm dividing by 3.14 this time because the original problem gave us a decimal. It didn't give us the pi format, it gave us a decimal. So that's why I'm choosing to divide by the approximation of pi, 3.14. So 78.5 divided by 3.4 is 25. It's not very clear. 25 equals r squared, because this at pi and at 3.14 we're saying cancels each other. So we know that last but not least, if you take the square root of both sides, you will get r by itself, and r will be equal to the square root of 25, which is 5. Now again, we could have had this original area given to us in pi format, and we could still go through the same problems. If you'll notice here, this problem, the circumference, is given to us in pi format. So if you write circumference equals 2 times pi times r, and again we want to find out what r is, the radius. This is a different problem, let's say, but can be represented by the same picture, I suppose. Let's see, then that means that we'll plug in 13 pi in for the circumference, and that equals to 2 times pi times the radius. So we will divide both sides by 2 pi. Okay, you'll notice these pi's cancel and the 2's cancel, and then here, oops, we're dividing by 2 pi. These pi's cancel, and 13 divided by 2 is just 6.5, and again, since all the pi's cancel, 6.5 is the radius for this problem. Okay, let's say we are given the area and then we want to find the circumference. Well, we know that the one thing that both these things, these formulas have in common is you need to find the radius, or it's helpful to find the radius anyway. So if the area is 36 pi, we'll put in 36 pi equals pi r squared, divide both sides by pi. Those pi's cancel, you get 36 equals, these pi's cancel, you get r squared, and then take the square root of both sides, you get 6 equals the radius. Now, the problem is asking for the circumference. So if we know the circumference is 2 times pi times the radius, and the radius is 6, the circumference equals 2 times pi times 6, which gives us 12 pi, or if you wanted to multiply, well, you know what, in this problem, this would probably be the best answer, and we'll leave it in pi format. And the reason is because the information we were given was in the pi, using pi, and not a rounded decimal. So we should just leave that one as 12 pi. Okay, let's say the circumference is 628. Okay, so there's no pi, so we're going to use 3.14 for the approximation of pi. So we want to find the area. Well, first we need to find out what the radius is. Circumference equals 2 pi r, and the circumference is 628 equals 2 pi r, and we're going to divide both sides, well, we'll just do it in 2 steps here, by 2, and then we get 314 equals pi r, and then if we divide both sides by 3.14, okay, then and again we're saying that the pi and the 3.14 That's our approximation. 314 divided by 3.14 is going to give us 100 equals the radius. Okay, now we're not done because it was asking for the area. So area equals pi r squared. Our r was 100, so area equals pi times 100 squared, and 100 squared is, got the 4 zeros, 10,000 times pi is the area. And then since this was not given in pi format, but it was given in a whole number or an approximation, we're going to go ahead and multiply 10,000 times 3.14, and we will get 31400. So 31,400. Alright, there's a few problems, and hopefully that's enough to get you started on the circumference and area equations, formulas. Alright, thank you for watching.